moron! Hey, moron! Dude, look at me! I'm the waterboard, dude!
Well, good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here and let's wake up the football gods. It is Thirsty Thursday. The weekend is almost upon us. Tomorrow morning at 10:30 is my dad's funeral. And there is a link, my dad, I put in the community tab, my dad's obituary. And there's a link in there if you want to watch the funeral. I've been given the task of reading the obituary. You guys know how bad I am at reading, and doing the eulogy for my dad. And that's going to be hard. But if you do want to watch and things, it is there for you guys. It is kind of quiet in Cowboys land right now as the Cowboys hunker down to get ready for the draft. It's so funny to me how people will literally take time out of their life. This is where you realize there's obsessions, okay? Philly 500 is my friend. He is, he's reached out to me about my dad and things and all that. And Philly 500, we've never actually met, but we've been friends for a long time. Some people will take it that Mark and Philly 500 that we're fighting friends. I mean that literally that we need to be swinging at each other if we saw each other, but it's not at all like that. He is a friend. And see, the funny thing is, I can point back to how the relationship that I have with Philly 500 is very similar to the relationships my dad had with his friends and coworkers. Because, my dad was the Cowboy tie, the Cowboy fan at the post office, and everybody else, were Commanders fans or Redskins at the time fans. And so they would always come to him, make little bets, they talk trash. And when Washington won, the phone's ringing off the hook with everybody, put your daddy on, and things, talking smack. Of course, when Washington lost to the Cowboys, we didn't hear anything from him. But it's funny to me because there's so many people out there that are obsessed with watching my channel that aren't Cowboy fans. They're not even Eagle fans, 49er fans, that it resonates so much that they get the littlest things that will set them off, that they have to fire off an email. And so my thoughts on the Cowboys. So the amazing thing is, unless you have a time machine, nobody knows what's going to happen next season. You can't tell me that anybody knew that the San Francisco 49ers were going to go from the Super Bowl to drafting ahead of the Cowboys. Now, I said there was a Super Bowl hangover, that they weren't going to be as good, but I didn't think they were going to be that bad. You just don't know with football. You can go through, you can get all the looks of this. You can look at the teams, the players, the draft picks, and everything else. But there's no guarantee on anything. 40% of the first round draft picks will be bust. That's a fact. So saying that you know something for sure is bullshit. But this is funny because I got a 49er fan that I seem to get under his skin. Dallas will not finish with at least 9 wins next year. Quit being a homer. Your team is at best third in the division, and now your quarterback is last in the division to make it to at least an NFC championship game. That bum been in the league for 10 years and ain't done shit. Jalen doubled up his playoff wins. In just one season, laugh out loud, doubled them. Dak's got 2. He doubled them. He had 4 in 1 year. Okay. The argument, he didn't have 4 in 1 year. Sorry, he didn't. The argument with Dak and Jalen is over, buddy. Whether you want to admit it or not, everyone knows Jalen is better, but you gay boy fans. By the way, when you try to talk shit about the Birds, I'm sorry, I thought he was a 49er fan. Your team you wish you had, you have zero credibility, especially saying you would be 8-9, that we would go 8-9. How the F does that work out for you? Let me know. I forgot. It's so nice to get love letters like this the day before your dad's funeral. Thank you very much, and I appreciate that. But it's funny that why Eagle fans have to, you just won the Super Bowl. I'd be partying it up about being Super Bowl champions and everything else and enjoying myself. But literally, what I say, I'm just a Cowboy YouTuber that has no control over the Dallas Cowboys from my basement. But I provoke you that much? Literally? Wow. That's some real power that I have there, I guess. But beyond that, since I have not had the time to get everything done that I wanted to, it's the draft, and I have not done, I don't know the players, what at all. I'm going to leave that to the Voshes, the Laws, the Game Time Bryans and everything else. You've got time, you've had time to go through and do that. I'm not going to try and fake the funk in things. I'm going to get, when we draft our players, I'm going to tell you how I think they're going to fit and give you my opinion on them. But shout out to Holly, because Holly apparently does not sleep at night. She ended up sending me a post last night from about Tyreek Hill. And I think that maybe Tyreek Hill has definitely messed up his trade stock, and I'm not sure how well he fits in Miami right now, because there's a whole lot of stuff that's going on with Tyreek Hill. And I don't want to try and go into it because it's all, allegedly. But the crazy thing is his wife and him had a disagreement yesterday, and it involved the child and the mother-in-law, and it involved the police coming by and things in there. Nobody was arrested. Nobody was charged with anything or anything like that. But she's basically announcing that says she's going to file for divorce. But it comes out that allegedly, this is insane, but allegedly, Tyreek Hill had 5 kids this year alone with 5 different women. They say that a lot of NFL players within 3 years of getting out of the NFL are broke. Because here's the problem. Yeah, you're making $30 million right now. That sounds great. But then you got the agent's cut. You got the taxes on there, which are, take about a third of that for taxes right there. But when you have all the children and things like that, they're basing your alimony or your paternity, your money you're paying for your kids on what your salary is now. You're 32 years old. How many more years do you think you're going to be making $30 million a year? And you've got now, just this year, 5 different women and an ex-wife. You find out after the fact that they ain't money to go around. And a lot of NFL players, especially draft picks, understand, man, just take 10% of your money and just put it away into the stock market, or get a good financial planner, not Cousin Vinny. Get somebody who knows what they're doing that will take care of your money, because that money can grow and grow and grow, because you're not going to forever make that money. But with the off the field issues from the Doc incident and things like that and all, you got to look at it and say, I don't think I want to have an aging player that's costing a ton of money, that's going to be a distraction, that has some stuff that's going on with them. I don't think that that's the best move right there. And I would have to say that it may be that for Tyreek Hill, his stock is going down. That the trade partners that may be there, and don't get it wrong, don't get it twisted. If you got abilities, people will go through and say, we can rehab you. We can rehab you. But you have to think that people are going to be willing to take on less and less. And I'm not sure how exactly this is going to work as far as as Miami, already knowing that he said, I'm basically out of here. I'm done with you guys and so on. How they want to be there. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And I would imagine that his time in Miami may be finished. The question will be is, where does he go? Now, we do know the Cowboys are a reclamation type team. They'll help people out. They will help people out. So we'll see if that's the case, but I'm leaning more and more and saying that that's not the guy maybe that we should be trying to give up draft capital, a boatload of money to, and so on, because basically he would be like a 2-year rental. But the Cowboys need playmakers. Now, the Cowboys have done more work this offseason by this point than at any other time. Usually, like last year, we ended up letting go 9 starters, and we ended up bringing in Eric Kendrick at linebacker after losing Dante Fowler, after losing Dorrance Armstrong, after losing Hankins, after losing Stephon Gilmore, after losing Tony Pollard, after losing Tyron Smith, after losing Biotish. That's only 7 of them, but we had more. But losing all of these players, we had needs for all of these positions. We lost Leighton Vander Esch too. We had needs in all of these positions going into the draft where we said, we ain't got anybody other than Mozzie Smith on the defensive line. And so you end up drafting to fill these needs, and that's where the Cowboys have gotten themselves in trouble. So to their credit, they've gone out and they've got viable people who have experience. Make no mistake about it. A lot of times the Cowboys have brought in people that have been injured, have been off rosters, or have actually not really had much experience. This time, you brought in people who have got starting experience that were thought to be better than where they are right now, and they're figuring we're going to take these people with a 1-year deal, coach them up because they'll be here the whole off season to get into a system with our new coaching staff, which, because it's new, could have extra practice days to try and get them all on the same page. And that takes time. But it's a good thing, because now when you look around at the players that they're bringing in on the 30-day visit, on their 30 visits, that they are looking at wide receiver, they're looking at running back, they're looking at offensive line, they're looking at defensive line. They're going to take the best player that's going to fall to them at one of those positions. We all know that people panic draft, that all of a sudden there starts to be a run on quarterbacks, so everybody who wanted a quarterback is now going to jump in and try and grab a quarterback, or run on wide receivers, or run on defensive ends, or left tackles. And the Cowboys like to get the top prospect at a position in the draft, and it's done them rather well. So 2 of those that have come in yesterday, now this is it from A2ZSports.com. I'm just going to read a little bit of this on here. Now that the top 30 visits around the NFL, or season is around the NFL, we're getting a good idea of what positions Dallas wishes to address at the end of the month. Of the 16 reported visits so far, 2 of them are defensive tackle Walter Nolan of Ole Miss and defensive line Shamir Stewart, Texas A&M. These 2 players have 3 things in common. They both play defensive line. They both are projected as first rounders. They both are on the list of riskiest prospects in the 25 draft. Now, I'm happy to hear that neither of them are injured. Defensive tackle Walter Nolan. Why he's risky. There's moments when he's watching Walter Nealon on the field that brings to mind the dominance of Gerald McCoy or Aaron Donald at 296. His speed and agility are striking, often making him appear smaller as he changes direction with unusual quickness. Teams are banking on these standout traits. In 24, Nolan's performance surge compared to previous years, marked by a significant increase in advanced statistics. His quarterback hurries tripled, and he surpassed his previous best in run stops. However, there remains some skepticism within the league regarding Nolan's consistency and his drive to achieve at his full potential. Samir Stewart. Why he's risky. Samir Stewart is an exceptional athlete, becoming one of only 3 edge rushers in the past 25 years, along with Myles Garrett and Mario Williams, to run a sub 4.7 40, jump at least 40 inches, and achieve a standing broad jump of at least 117 inches. With an impressive performance at the Senior Bowl, there's a strong chance for him to be a top 5 pick in the draft. Issues with Stewart isn't his athleticism, rather it's on the field production. With only 4.5 career sacks and somewhat average pressure statistics over the last 3 years in college, he hasn't fully utilized his physical abilities during games. His pressure numbers are decent, but a missed tackle rate of 23.5% in 24 raises concern. And so here's what I'm saying that the Cowboys are doing. They're looking at all of the top prospects. We had years. CeeDee Lamb fell to us. Nobody thought we had a chance for CeeDee Lamb, but they did their homework on him and knew this is a guy we can't turn down. Same thing with Micah Parsons. Fortunately, they knew, okay, we can get Micah Parsons, we can trade back a couple spots, and we can get another player, and we can get the guy that we deem is one of the best. The interesting thing with the Dallas Cowboys is, per Pro Football Focus, they have the Cowboys ranked top 5 in first-round draft picks over the last 5 years. And when you think about this, Since 2010, Cowboys have drafted Dez Bryant, Tyron Smith, Travis Frederick, Zach Martin, Byron Jones, Ezekiel Elliott, Leighton Vander Esch, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, and Tyler Smith. 10 of those players have been all pros. 10 have been all pros. You don't do much better than that. Now, we'll see what happens with Mozzie, and we'll see what happens with Tyler Guyton. I kind of say that they kind of taken a step back a little bit, where we didn't get them out the box ready to rock and roll like others have. But here's where Pro Football Focus has the Cowboys. Cincinnati at number 1 as far as drafting offensive players at 95.9, Minnesota at 95.1, the Lions at 92.2, and the Cowboys at 91.3, of course, having gotten CeeDee Lamb, Tyler Smith, and Tyler Guyton in the first round over the last 5 years. I will say Tyler Guyton probably brings them down a little bit, but they get us at 4th. And by on the defensive side, the interesting part is they had the Cowboys number 1 over the last 5 years in drafting on defense in the first round, with Micah Parsons and Mozzie Smith. They give us a 91.6. That's the one that kind of scratched my head. But, okay, you know, everybody's got their list and everybody's got their different formulas. So who's right, who's wrong, who knows? But all I do know is 2 weeks from today, we'll be right here watching the NFL draft. And I can't wait. As we go out of here, we have a new star in the making. Now, some people may say that the Dallas Cowboys are trying to hype up Overshown and do the number change to sell jerseys. And it's probably true because that's what the Cowboys do. But you can look and you can see that he is becoming a star, and he's doing the rounds around the NFL, the whole Agent Zero being the first player on the Cowboys to have the number 0 on the team. And so he was on NFL Live yesterday, and it was a great interview. I used a clip of it, but I want to use the whole thing so you guys can see it.
DeMarvion Overshown was all over the field last season. He was one of 4 players with at least 80 tackles, 50 sacks, an interception, and a forced fumble. And even more impressive, he did all of that in just 13 games before his season was cut short with a serious knee injury. So he did all of that with 4 fewer games than the other 3 players that you are seeing on the list. And I know I speak for Cowboys fans. They cannot wait to have him back on the field. And we are so pleased to have him here on NFL Live. So, DeMarvion, it is great to be with you. Tell the fans how your rehab has gone and when we can see you back.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely an honor to be here. But rehab couldn't be better. It definitely helps when you went through this a time or two, but it's all the mental part. I learned that from the first one, and I got a great group of guys around me every day pushing me to be the best version of myself. And just seeing all the love that I constantly see from the fans, my family, it's what pushes me to want to be great and want to get back on that field and do what I was doing.
That's so great that you had so much support and you were able to stay positive. So will we see you close to the start of the season? What's the timetable right now?
Look, if you ask me, I'll be suiting up at the start of fall camp. But I know how it is with these types of injuries. As much of a dog I am, these one of these things that you don't want to rush early on in your career. Like, hey, I'm going to be good. I'm going to be healthy. As soon as I touch the field, I'm touching that 120%. So they just want to make sure I'm ready. But it'll be close to the beginning. I can guarantee that.
I love it. Such a great attitude. And I know that in the meantime, you have made a significant change from your number 13 that you were assigned to when you drafted back towards your college number 0. You're making history as the first Cowboy ever to wear that number. So take us through the change and why you did it.
I tell people 0, it might just be a number to some people, but to me, of course, being a Texas boy, homegrown, being the first to wear it at Texas, now having the honor to wear it at, Dallas, it's only so many things that you can say that you was the first to do. And the fact that I'm at this stage and I get to say I'm the first to do something, especially with this magnitude, 0 is a badge of honor to me. It's just not a number you put out there and nobody recognize. You gotta get that to somebody that's, gonna honor and respect it. So I'm definitely excited. I feel like I'm Superman when I got this 0 on my back and on the front. So just know when I put it on, I might look a little faster.
I like it. And I love your nickname, Agent Zero, though apparently you ruffled some feathers. I think the Cowboys mascot, Rowdy, has been 00, and he was pretty upset by that. So are you going to offer him any sort of compensation?
Look, Rowdy, we got a relationship. We got a bond that can't be broken. So that's twin. I'm a ride with Rowdy at dawn. So, anybody that's at Rowdy got to come through me.
I love it. Hey, some changes there, pretty significant ones. You have Matt Eberflus coming in as your new defensive coordinator. What are your early impressions of him?
He's a guy that want to win. He's a guy that believes in playing football the right way, run and hit. And that's what I love to do. So when you have that energy inside the building, you got that energy and you pumping it through your players, you get 4 quarters of hard, fast, physical football. And, that's what we got to play to be where we want to be. And, I'm all about it. So I'm looking forward to leading the troops on Sunday, blood, sweat, and tears all on the field.
It's really interesting as we're approaching the draft and we're talking about all of these stories, and you were drafted at 90, and here you are becoming one of the faces of one of the most storied franchises in football. What would you say to those guys who were drafted in later rounds about what it takes to make it at the next level?
Remember where you right where you're supposed to be. Don't let that number beside your name wherever you get drafted, undrafted, because just being here in my short span of time, I done seen guys that was drafted at the highest and guys that was drafted at the lowest, And those guys, you couldn't tell which one was drafted the highest because the undrafted guy, he came to work every day with a chip on his shoulder. So please don't let that number discourage you of your worth, of what you put on tape all throughout college. Just know that you got it in you. Don't let the NFL scare you from what you've been working for your whole life.
I love that. I think we could clip that off and play it for a lot of folks. And we have Louis Riddick. He evaluates all of these guys. This is his expertise. And I know he loved you coming out of Texas. So Louis wants to jump in here. Louis?
DeMarvion, how you doing, man?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. I'm blessed. I can hear you. I can hear you.
Good. Hey, look. Okay. Good deal. Look, when you came out in the draft, one of the things I put on social media, it was like maybe in February of 23. I said, look, if I'm a GM of a team, I would do anything I have to do that makes sure number 0 from Texas is on my football team.
There you go.
Because of the way you played, because of the way you key and diagnose, everything was an absolute blow-up hit. Every single tackle. I said, DeMarvion Overshown is trying to run through people. He's not just trying to put them on the ground. He's trying to enter them on one side and come out the other. I said, this guy is an absolute beast. Where does that come from? Because, look, that usually starts from Pop Warner, Pee Wee League on up. You don't make guys into stuff like that. They just are like that. Tell me about your journey. Why do you play like that?
Look, I was brought up around the old school. So my Uncle James used to always tell us, me, my cousins, my siblings, if you're going to get out there, don't get out there messing around. You either going to play or you're going to sit on the sideline. So when I'm in between the lines, I ain't doing no plan. You know, it's all out. I've always thought from a young age, you know, if my talent, if my ability don't get me to where I want to go, my heart is. And, you know, you see that game in, down in, every play.
Yeah, well, that's really cool. Listen, it's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Amen. It is always a pleasure with DeMarvion Overshown. And, man, if there's any way, you can best believe he is busting ass to try and get back out on that field for this season. And I wish we had more players like Overshown on this team that literally don't give up and have an incredible attitude. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you guys, and I will see you soon. Peace.